Ready?
Can you please critique the year's current CDVP?
Well, I think also did a great job of like making her services and her talents known to the general members. But I also feel, and she did a great job of setting up the Advice with Alyssa blog. But when I went on there were no entries, and I realized that general members have to actually email questions for blog updates. And what I would do as CDVP is I'd be more proactive about the blog updates, making them like a semi-regular occurrence, like maybe twice a month, and also hold regular office hours like counselors do. So if past members had any questions, they can just come to open office hours.
Questions? Any other questions? Marissa?
What kind of speakers can you bring to our conferences that we haven't seen already?
Well, to build on PASS's pillar of leadership, as I mentioned in my video, I have undergone leadership training with Youth Leadership Long Beach, which is a nonprofit organization. I'm still closely related to the organization and the founder, so that is one panelist I can contribute to PASS to uphold PASS's pillar of leadership. Also through SMLI, I'm very close with the people at the Cross Cultural Center, doing SMLI and also alternative spring break. So I have ties from there that could contribute as panelists.
This is kind of an add-on to my question. There are also members who are not in the sciences or a political bio or etc. So what other speakers could you bring to kind of address the diversity of majors?
Yeah, that's great. Well, for business majors, I'm very closely related to a business owner, and he does run his entire business, and I've been talking to him, and he's willing to come out here. Since I'm also a bio major, and I've been networking with bio-related panelists at the Career Center, I do have contacts at pharmacy and chemistry companies like Phenomenex and food micro labs, and I'm very also close related to them, and in the sense that they will be able to come out and be a panelist to contribute to the diversity. Yeah.
Wait.
What made you decide to run for CDVP?
Well, when I first joined PASS, I found it was a really great community, and it slowly over the course of the year became my family. And that was in a large part due to the efforts of executive and appointed board. So having been involved with HSO this year, I feel like I now have the skills to contribute to PASS in a larger way with a board position. And I want to run for CDVP, so next year I can recreate this PASS family for the incoming members.
First, Gerald. Leon.
Was it Anthony?
That's Gerald and
Gabby and then Leona.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, my question is that as an executive board member, you oversee two other positions. You look over tutoring, and you also look over you look over counseling director. What would you kind of expect out of these two, and what would you kind of hold them accountable for, as career development?
As in relating to career development, or just overall?
No, as your position. Sorry.
Oh, as my position. Okay. Well, for counseling, I think Leon has done an incredible job this year with making sure her counselors were properly trained and holding open office hours. I would also expect that same caliber, and I would also expect to have more counseling FAM-related activities, because as a general member, I felt this year I was getting to know board better than I was getting to know my fellow general members. I feel that can be addressed by having more counseling family-based meetings. For tutoring, tutors already now have a really pretty strict code to be accepted. They have like GPA requirements, and they have to submit a transcript. From those programs, I would expect like kind of progress reports from the students at the school to show that tutoring is actually like improving their grades. Because a lot of tutoring programs do that. They take like beginning and end results. And I would want to make sure that the tutors are actually being effective. I also had the idea, if effectiveness wasn't really happening, to organize like a pedagogy workshop for tutors, art of teaching.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gabby.
So for PAX, one of the challenges is speakers, And once you have the speakers, you need people to come out. And we've had an issue in the past few years about enough attendance showing up for the speakers. So what would you do? What's your marketing strategy as far as how you're going to market PAX to make sure like other people come out and not just our own community?
Well, my goal for PAX is to have a wide enough array of speakers that it would appeal to the larger UCI community. I'd also push it really hard with Alianza, because I know Alianza, between Fusion and Puso, and Kaba's just a mix, but between all of them, like if we can just get Alianza to come out, that would be a really big conference. So targeting Alianza and targeting the different majors that they are interested in, that'll be, and publicizing that within the Alianza community, I think that would be enough to get attendance up.
Leona?
One of the things that you'll have to do as CDVP is help people with their resumes. How comfortable are you writing a resume, and how comfortable are you critiquing someone else's?
For the past, almost all of fall quarter, I was in the Career Center like every 2 weeks with a new version of my resume, getting it critiqued, because that was around the time I was applying for different positions. And so over the course of that, and over going to Career Center workshops about how to write a resume and what should go into a resume and how to correct resumes, I have the skills and the resources now that I'm comfortable enough writing a resume and pointing out improvements that can be made in others' resumes.
It was Jerome,
Yeah.
Robert.
So, as an executive board member, that's obviously a lot of responsibility that you'd be gaining. What are a few reasons you feel that you shouldn't be on the executive board?
I feel that the skills I have between the leadership and the career, I think that my biggest contribution to PASS could be in an executive board position. And I think I'm a lot. Like, I'm a pretty responsible person, and I'm also kind of a perfectionist. So I feel like being on executive board, like I can work hard on big projects, and then if you want to add on to the question before I go on.
Sorry, I actually meant to say should not.
Huh?
I said shouldn't, but I probably should have said should not.
Shouldn't, oh, okay. But I should not be on executive board?
Yes.
Well, some might argue that I don't have experience on appointed board, so that'll be an argument against me for executive board. But I feel like like I said, I'm comfortable enough with the skills that I could fulfill this position, and I'm always learning more, so I can always be better than I am right now.
So as being part of exec, you are a part of the face of PASS, and a lot of people take for granted that career development tends to be one of those board positions, especially on exec, that isn't really out there and as like visible. So how do you make yourself more visible to not only general members but also to the outside community outside of PASS?
Well, I mentioned before that I was planning on making regular blog entries.
Okay.
Those aren't going to be, I'm not planning to limit those to PASS, because, I mean, with career resources are something that really should be available to the wider UCI and Alianza communities. So I have plans to publish that with, like, on Facebook, on the Alianza Facebook page, which usually only gets like event hits. Publishing some of those resources will really get PASS out there as having a reputation for being like a pre-professional in a career club. And I feel like PASS already in our community, we're very strong with pre-professionalism. And it really is an untapped resource in the larger UCI community. And I want to get that out there via Facebook, blog posts, and various, and the conferences that need to be advertised.
So next, it was Donnell. It was Donnell, Joel.
Forget me.
Right here. Marissa, Gerald. Then there's so many questions. I got it in my head.
So I think something that I found interesting that you said was you really wanted to focus on interaction between general members. And I feel like that's something that a lot of boards struggle with, all boards struggle with, is that they become friends with the general members, but the general members don't necessarily become friends with each other. How would you specifically, not just through the counseling workshops, but through your position as CDVP, would you bridge the gap between general members and encourage that relationship?
Well, as a career development vice president, I would try to have like mini events for the career development workshops, because I go to a lot of them and I'm always alone and it feels kind of lonely and awkward, with a little notebook. But making events and publicizing it through PASS and upholding that career pillar, having like general members come out, then they can network there. And then they come to PASS on Wednesday nights and they're already friends and they already have something in common.
Joel? And then after Alyssa and Marissa.
So career development usually focuses on the logistical parts of applying for a job, whether it is resume critiquing or interview skills. How would you help future PASS members get jobs? Because I think one of the more important things about having a career is that you need to have experience first. So whether it is that you have a great resume or good interview skills, it's not going to happen unless you start it. So how would you give these people opportunities to get jobs?
One of the resources I've found most useful is Zotlink. So as a career development vice president, I would be giving, on my blog, I'd give like Zotlink workshops, like how to best use Zotlink, because it isn't a greatly formatted site, but it is very helpful and resourceful. And so, like Marissa mentioned in her caucus for IVP of having workshops for formatting, I'd also have workshops for career sites. Also, I have somewhat of a network going on that I keep on expanding, and that would be available to students looking for jobs.
So Alyssa, Marissa, Gerald, and then Carmelis will be the last question.
Well, PASS is a pre-professional organization, and as CDVP, you are pretty much the physical embodiment of the professional side of PASS. What does professionalism mean to you, and how would you embody it for next year?
What professionalism means to me is presenting yourself in a formal and desirable way. And embodying that, I mean, to be professional, you need to be formal, but in order to be desirable, you also need to be approachable. As CDVP, I would try to be approachable to all the PASS members through workshops, through open office hours, but also remain a level of formality as an example for what they should be like in their positions and in interviews.